Hey, sleepyheads. Pop quiz. How old was Pocahontas when she met John Smith? Disney portrays Pocahontas to be around 19 or 20, but the truth is, she was actually around 10 or 11. So, as you can see, that complicates things. All right, y'all, it's your girl, Miss Missing My Bed, and today we are diving into the counter narrative of Matoaka, aka Pocahontas. But first, let's get into our core concept of the day. Core concept of the day is the dominant narrative. Simply put, a dominant narrative is a version of history that is widely repeated and accepted as truth, but often leaves out the nuances to the history. In this short episode, I will be sharing 5 things that made my students say, Miss CC, why are you trying to ruin my childhood? Let's get into it. As stated before, number 1, Pocahontas was not her birth name. It was actually Matoaka. And some scholars actually say that it was her mother's nickname, which was passed down to her after her mother passed away. It is likely to mean playful one or a little troublemaker. But I want us to ask ourselves, what happens to a name lost in history? Number 2, the love story between Pocahontas and John Smith was completely false. I mean, quite literally completely made up and taken from John Smith's personal accounts, so he fabricated the entire thing. We have to remember the fact that she was 10 or 11 and he was likely to be around 28 or 29. That's a little awkward. Number 3, while her marriages were not actually discussed in Disney, I think it's still important to talk about. Disney actually just ends with a wounded John Smith looking like a hero departing back to England where he belongs. And so I thought it was important to talk about the oral history that we learned about Matoaka and her marriages. She was first married to a man named Kokwam, who's also in the movie but does not actually talk about the real details. They are said to have had a daughter. And then Pocahontas is then married to John Ralph. We're talking about colonists. We're talking about her being a captive. So we have to understand that that wasn't really the same idea that we think of marriages today. Number 4, she literally looked nothing like the Disney representation. So Disney completely altered her body, her facial features, skin tones, and everything else you can think of. So of course I have to ask, what do we gain from making a 10 or 11-year-old look like she's in her 20s? Is it to make the falsified relationship more acceptable by society? Or just the fact that this is a kid's movie and that's the way that Disney does it? We have to look at the idea that she was made to look like a Barbie doll and not who she truly was. Number 5, Matoaka is often discussed as one of the earliest examples in history connected to the missing and murdered Indigenous women. She was a young Indigenous girl who was taken from her people, renamed, converted, married into English society, and taken across the ocean. And all of this happened without her having the opportunity to return home. She died between the ages of 20 and 21, never having the opportunity to reconnect with her community. We study these stories not to sensationalize the pain, but to honor the lives sitting at the margins of history. So, what do you think the benefits are from this dominant narrative of Matoaka? How much of her story were you actually taught in school? And for my overachievers, some extra credit. Across the United States and Canada, Indigenous women and girls continue to face disproportionate rates of violence and disappearance and homicide. This crisis is known as the missing and murdered Indigenous women. Your job is to research and find one name of an Indigenous woman whose story deserves to be remembered. And if there's another story in history that you feel deserves a second look, please drop it in the comments and I will see you next class. Bye, sleepyheads.